Welcome back to Electricity with Mr. B. In this session we're going to be thinking about how we make electricity and why we make it the way we do. Well, so far in previous episodes I've shown you a few ways that electricity can be made. Last time we talked about solar power. Once again got the solar panel, which can be used to turn sunlight into electricity. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about that and other ways we can make electricity today. So if we start with the solar then. Electricity is a form of energy, and with energy you can't make energy from nothing, you can convert it from something else. So in this case we've got light energy being converted into electrical energy, which we can then store in a battery. Now you can convert energy from a battery into electricity, so it's the chemical reaction between the acid in the battery and the lead, which is then used to complete the electrical circuits. I also previously showed you how motors can be turned into generators to create electricity. So we showed how this motor that can run off electricity can also be turned to generate electricity. Now that can be used in a whole variety of ways. On a larger scale, if you got one of these and put it into a turbine, that's one of those things you sometimes see, big white things with the propeller blades. The wind turns the generator and creates electricity. Sorry, it doesn't create it, it converts the energy into electricity. You can also have a similar thing. If I was to put this into a river with particular propeller blades on it, I could then use that. So a water turbine could use the flow of the river to generate more electricity. Now, all of these are what we call renewable energy sources. What that means is we can keep using them again and again. So for example, with the solar panels, I can keep using it so long as there's sunlight in the sky, and there is most days. Even when it's a bit cloudy, I still get some electricity. And they're working on solar panels all the time, which are getting more and more efficient, which means they're getting more electricity out of the sunlight. The sunlight is going to be good to use, well, for at least the next few million years, so we should be fine with that. Similarly, the generators, I can obviously keep turning it with my hand. I might get a bit tired, so I'll have to get energy from somewhere else. But if I was to adapt it into a wind turbine, there's going to be wind for the foreseeable future, and there's going to be water for lots of time as well. So long as I can find a downhill stream, I can use that to make electricity. I can keep on using it, so it's renewable. I can go back to it and use the same source again. Another way of generating electricity is through what we call non-renewable energy sources, or fossil fuels. Well, fossil fuels are an example of non-renewable energy. So fossil fuels are coal, gas and oil. Now, oil we get from the ground, we dig up. It's actually composed mostly of dead dinosaurs. So dinosaurs that died millions of years ago, they crushed down into this black gooey mess. It's made of hydrocarbons, and that can be separated out and made into useful things like petrol, diesel, octane, propane, all sorts of things that can be used to fuel things. We'd set them on fire, we'd burn them, and then they can be used to heat things up. Apart from heating things up, we get the heat energy. We can also use them to turn turbines and generate electricity. So, if you want to make electricity, what you're going to have to do is find something that rotates so that you can spin the shaft of the generator. And one way that they used to do that was through steam generation. They still do that today. Here I've got a very small example of a basic steam generator. Let's have a little look. Unfortunately, I can't show you this one running today because distinct lack of fuel, and I can't go out to the shops to get any more, but never mind. Let's talk you through it all the same. So down here we have the burner. Now that's where we put the fuel and light it, and then that would provide heat to up here, the boiler, and that would have water in it poured in through there. We'd boil it up, and then the water would turn into steam, which would travel through this tube here and into this. Now then, steam would travel through both pipes, and this is the key part. You can see those two cylinders just there. The steam would push against each of those, forcing a rod to go down, which would turn the shaft, making this spin. Let's have a little look at what that would look like. So you can see the cylinders going up and down, as it spins. Obviously I'm making it spin. Normally it would be the other way around. The pistons would force it to go round. I'm just doing it in reverse. We'll just have a little look at it that way. That's better. You can see they're offset against a disc so that they're pushing it around. Now, you might be thinking that these fossil fuels sound great, they sound really useful, and in many ways they are. Yes, they're readily available, they're quite cheap, and they work. We use them in our cars, we use them to make electricity, we use them for all sorts of things. But they're not so perfect as you might think. For a start, they're not all that efficient. For every bit of coal that you burn or every bit of oil that you burn, only 40% is actually turned into energy, which isn't as much as you might like. Also, as I said, they're non-renewable, which means you can only burn them the once and then you're left with waste and nothing else to show for it. But solar panels you can use again and again and again. The average solar panel at the moment will last about 25 years before it becomes a little bit less efficient than you'd like, and even then it will still work. Solar panels, on the other hand, are actually less efficient than fossil fuels. They're only about 22% efficient. So if you imagine that the sun, imagine there's 100 people saying, oh, have some electricity from the sun. At the moment, the solar panels are only saying, oh yes, I'll have some please, to 22 of those people, which is not all that many, but you've got to remember the sun is renewable. We're not causing any harm by taking that light energy, which would be wasted as just light and heat, and turning it into something useful. Well, hopefully you've learned a bit more about how to make electricity using renewable and non-renewable energy sources. And I'll see you next time.